Well, welcome. My name is Sharon Bonney. I'm the Executive Director for the Coalition on Adult Basic Education, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to Pathways to Citizenship, teaching civics to English language learners.
All right, Sharon, am I good to jump in here? Oh, sorry.
Just 1 second. Nope, that's okay. So we do have with us here today Laura Blom, who is our esteemed presenter of the day, and she will be sharing her expert tips and tools and a presentation with you. Before she does, though, I just want to let you know that all webinar participants will receive a certificate of attendance, which you can use as a CEU, and it'll come to you tomorrow in an automated email. Additionally, any materials that are shared will also be on our website and will go out in the e-blast as well. I also wanted to let you know that you can download resources at our Adult Educators Repository, which, as you can see right there on our slide, there's the address. If you have difficulty with it, you could also go to coaeb.org and just click on professional development, and you'll see webinar resources there. Additionally, I wanted to invite all of you to join us for our National COAEB Conference in Orlando, which is taking place next week, actually, April 2nd through the 5th. And finally, if you have not done so yet, our National COAEB Board of Directors election is going strong. We'd love for you to vote. And with that, I just want to turn it now over to Laura Blom, who will be doing the presentation for today's webinar. Laura?
Thank you so much, Sharon. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for attending this webinar over teaching how to teach and prepare students to successfully go through the naturalization process and gain citizenship. I am an adult basic education and high school equivalency instructional specialist in Denver, Colorado. I work at Emily Griffith Technical College in downtown Denver. I am very excited to be here. I love working with students from all over the world, and this was a great opportunity for me to present at COAEB last year, my experience teaching students who were working towards their citizenship. So again, thank you so much for attending. During the presentation, I'm going to ask that you can go ahead and post any questions or comments that you have at any time, and I will save some time at the end of the presentation to address any of the questions that you might have. I'm also, just for flow and ease of getting through the presentation, going to turn off my camera here in just a minute, and we will get started. Okay, oops, sorry about that, everybody. It was going a little fast for me. All right, so my objectives for this webinar today are to help identify some of the requirements for passing the citizenship interview and test, which is one part of the naturalization, a very big part of the naturalization process, as well as help you with first steps to develop a successful course and curriculum for the course, and to implement some best practices into the classroom through the activities that you use, and show you some resources that can help you create effective lesson plans for your citizenship course. Before we begin, I just want to spend a minute talking about my institution. Emily Griffith Technical College is in downtown Denver, as I said earlier, and we last year in 2016 celebrated our 100th year anniversary of serving the Denver public. We have 27 certificate programs that range, variety of programs that range from health sciences to industry and trades, as well as creative arts. And in addition to our certificate programs, we have an English language program and an adult basic education and high school equivalency program as well. And we also offer public services. So in our multi-facility building that you see pictured here, We have a salon and spa that is run by our cosmetology students, and they service the public. We also have a coffee shop as well as a cafe that is run by our culinary students, and they also do catering. And it's really just a great way for these students to get firsthand knowledge of what it's going to be like when they get out in the field once they are done with their program. Last year, as part of our 100th anniversary, we held a naturalization ceremony on the 14th floor of our building, and this was one of the largest naturalization ceremonies ever hosted in the city and state. And this was a really great experience. And if you're looking to start a citizenship program, I can't recommend enough, if you have the resources available, to work with your city to have your institution host a naturalization ceremony. There were over 100 participants who came to this ceremony to take their oath of allegiance, which is the last step in earning citizenship. And so they came, and as you can see, there were many people there, friends and family as well, were invited to attend this ceremony. And it was a very, very exciting, just positive, wonderful experience to be a part of. Oh goodness, okay. So I just want to give you a quick overview of our citizenship course here at Emily Griffith. It is part of our English language acquisition program, and it's open to almost all levels of students. And it costs $80, but there is an option to get a scholarship to help students pay for the cost of the course. And we also make the textbook optional. So if students feel like they don't have the money to spend on that, it's not a requirement for them, but if they want to be able to have a book and take it home and have lots of extra practice, they have that option. The course runs for 9 weeks, and it's just once a week on Tuesdays in the evening from 6 to 8 p.m. And we run this course consistently if at least 3 students register for the course. Oh goodness, oh no. Oh, I'm so sorry. This is, zoom this out a little bit here. There we go. All right, so if you are looking to develop a course, if you do not currently offer a citizenship course at your institution, there are a couple of things that I would suggest to help you get started with this. When I have to create a course, I generally use the Dick and Carey instructional design model, where the first step here is to identify instructional goals. And of course, for a citizenship program, goals for this program, the ultimate goal would be to help your students successfully complete the naturalization process. But there might be other goals, as improving their reading and writing skills, helping them with technology or learning about American culture. But before you can start to develop a course, I would definitely recommend doing some kind of needs analysis or survey, maybe with your current ESL program and your current students. This will help you get a sense of how much interest there would be in having this type of course, to make sure that you would get students enrolled into the course, as well as you can ask certain logistical questions, such as when would you like this course to be offered, the time of day, or number of hours for the course. And you can then try to build the course based on student response and what the current students are telling you they would want and need from this course. You might also need to work with the business office, your business office, to do some kind of cost analysis to know how much you would need to charge for the course, and search for funding opportunities. So looking for grants or donors that can help you with the cost so that you can lower the cost for the student. The naturalization process is not a cheap one. So if you can help students on that level and make this course, find a way to make the course free or a very low cost, or provide scholarships for students, these three things I think would be a great tasks to start off with to help you develop a successful citizenship and civics course. So I'm going to give you just a minute to think and brainstorm what you think would need to be included in a citizenship course curriculum. So I'm just going to give everybody a minute to jot down kind of their thoughts about that. Okay, so hopefully you have some good ideas out there, some good brainstorms of what would need to be included for this course. And let me review kind of my list of things we need to include and to have a successful citizenship class. Parrish, from Teaching Adult ESL, explains that test prep and interview skills, benefits of citizenship, the process, helping learners build confidence, and also referrals for legal advice are the kind of 6 pillars of what need to be included in this course. And I've added 4 of my own on top of just learning what's on the test and what do I need to know to pass. I also think learning about American culture is an important part of a citizenship class, as well as helping students utilize technology. Even though the naturalization interview and test and most of the naturalization process doesn't require any use of technology, being an American citizen, technology is definitely a big part of our culture, and I think it's very important for students to get as much exposure as they can and get comfortable utilizing different forms of technology. And of course, integration of the 4 language skills is also important because the naturalization process requires use of all 4. It requires being able to go through the interview process, which is speaking and listening skills are very important for that. And individuals also have to take a very short, but a reading and writing test to be able to successfully earn their citizenship. So making sure that you're integrating all of the 4 language skills into your classroom is very important. And of course, you want to use a variety of activities that speak to learners with different learning styles to keep your students engaged. and going through what sometimes can be rather an overwhelming amount of material and history that they need to learn, and vocabulary. So keeping those activities, changing up your activities and how you do things is very important to keeping your learners engaged. So before we look at some of those individual kind of requirements for building a course, I just want to share with you what I typically do on the first night of class. I hand students this paper, and it has this table on it that you see right here, except it's not filled out. And I have the students go around and interview each other and ask each other these questions, and then they fill out the information in the boxes for each of the students. And I have them interview everyone, including myself. And I really do this icebreaker activity for a multitude of reasons. It gets students talking to each other and practicing their speaking and listening skills immediately, as well as their writing skills, reading and writing skills, immediately in class. It also allows students to share a little bit about their home country and where they're from, because as many individuals go through the naturalization process, even though they might be giving up citizenship in their home country is still a very important part of their lives, and allowing them to share and talk about that is very important for building rapport with your students and making them feel comfortable. And it also gives them a chance to be the teacher in that sense, or share some of their own knowledge that they have. It also will help with their writing practice of capitalization and spelling, practicing how to write their date of birth as it needs to be written on their N400 form, and automatically gets that question response practice. And for me, I usually participate in this as well, in this activity, so that I can use this as kind of an initial formative assessment to see kind of where each individual learner is at when they are beginning the class. And that way I can also provide a little bit more individualized instruction throughout the class for students whose maybe these students' reading skills or writing skills are not as strong as their speaking skills. And this student is the exact opposite, so that I can create instruction that can help students on an individual level. Some follow-up activities to that icebreaker would be to have the students fill out their personal information section of the N400 form, which is the form that individuals have to fill out when they apply for citizenship. It is a very long form, and it can be downloaded on the USCIS, the Immigration Services website. So you can print those out and actually have them practice filling it out. You can have them do partner interviews for more personal information, more of the personal information that they have to include on the form, as well as verifying information. So you can kind of have one act as the interviewer and the interviewee. You can do more interrogative word practice with what, where, when. For example, the 100 civics questions that individuals applying for citizenship have to learn and memorize have a lot of what, where, when questions, as far as where is this monument, or what is the Constitution. So that can be good practice for them as well as some preposition practice, talking more about their birthdays. I was born on this day, in this month, in this year, at this time, if they know what time they were born, to get some more practice with that, which will help with their interview process, as well as when they have to take the writing test. So going back to the curriculum here, I want to look at a couple of these bullet points a little bit more closely. And the first one here is just to make sure that we know a little bit about what happens during the interview. In the civics test. I want to talk about this just a little bit more. So once students, when your learners first start this process, they have to fill out their N-400 form and they have to send it in to Immigration Services. And after a period of time, they will be sent a notice to go take a biometrics test where they have to get fingerprinted in a government database. And once those two things are completed, and their form has been accepted, then they will get contacted about their naturalization interview and test. And this typically takes about 3 months, but I have been told with the current political climate, by friends who are applying for citizenship and students, that right now this process is taking about 6 months from the time they send in their form to when they actually get their interview. So their interview, they meet with an officer, and the officer goes over the N-400 form with them in pretty grave detail, asking them very specific questions about the form. And you can see some of the things here, their criminal history, personal habits, as well as they do have to verify all their personal information. And once they complete the interview process, then they also have to take a civics and reading and writing test. And the civics test covers all of these topics: history, government, American symbols such as the flag or the Statue of Liberty. And the reading and writing tests are also really over civics information as well. And I've been told by students that these two things can happen in either order. They can either have their interview first and then take their tests, or it can be the other way around whenever they go for their interview. Once they complete this, then if they pass, then they would come back to take their oath, their oath of allegiance, like the ceremony that we did last year. And many USCIS offices offer oath ceremonies weekly or daily, so that the individual can come back later that afternoon, or maybe just wait, and they can take their oath of allegiance right then, and then they are officially citizens. So to pull up, I wanted to showcase a little bit about the civics test. So what you see on the screen here, the big kind of thing in the background is the first page of the 100 questions that those applying for citizenship have to memorize. So you see the question is there: what is the supreme law of the land? If we look at number 1, and it says the Constitution, that is the answer that students have to, sorry, I refer to all of them as all of my students, that individuals have to reply. They have to reply in one of those ways. So if you look at number 2, what does the Constitution do? They can say any of those options, but they have to say that exactly in that response during their civics test. I've also included here, you can download PDFs versions from the Immigration Services website that has the vocabulary that is on the reading test and the writing test, and you can give these to students, use these in the classroom. And I also just want to point out that YouTube offers a lot of great videos that you can watch in class with your students or show your students. This one here is kind of a mock interview and test, so they can see what that experience will actually be like when that day comes. As well as there's a great video of these 100 questions that you can watch, and it has been updated for 2017, so all of the information is current on this video, and it goes through each of the questions. It shows the question, it shows the answer, and it has someone reading it aloud, because it's very important for students to not just memorize these questions by reading this list, but to be able to hear the question and know how to respond, because that's how it will actually take place during the interview. These videos can be found on YouTube, and the 100 questions and the vocabulary can be downloaded from the USCIS website. So when they go through the interview and test, how do they know if they passed? They have to answer the questions regarding their N400 application form correctly. On their civics test, of those 100 questions that they have to memorize, they have to get 6 out of 10 correct. So they will be asked 10 at random. And as long as they get 6 of those correct, they have passed the civics portion of the test. So even if they answer the first 6 correctly, then they're done, they've passed. The reading and writing test, they have 3 tries to read a sentence correctly that's written in English that is still, again, over civics information, as well as write a sentence correctly in English. And once they do this once, they have passed both of those parts of the test as well. And after successfully completing the interview and the test, they can then take their oath and become citizens. They get 2 tries to do their reading and their writing test. And on the writing test, I get this question a lot from students. What about my spelling and my punctuation? So they do not count off for punctuation, capitalization, or spelling errors, as long as the error doesn't prevent the interviewer from being able to read what they are writing. So they don't actually get counted off for that. So that's a little overview of the interview and civics test portion of the naturalization process. And another thing that I just want to touch on for a minute is the referrals for legal advice before we get into curriculum. Helping the students find help with this process outside of the classroom is incredibly important. And I can't recommend enough trying to form partnerships with other services in your community. There is an organization called Lutheran Family Services here in Denver, and they offer legal counsel for those applying for citizenship for only $50. And there are some limitations to what they will offer and what they will provide, being that the fee is only $50. But the naturalization process is very expensive, and so it's really a great service for individuals who really need legal counsel during this process. And I had it set up so that whenever it was about the 2nd or 3rd week of class, I had a representative come into the class, give a short presentation, hand out cards, talk to them about the services they offered, so the students could decide if that was something that they would want to do. Going to the site visits, going to the main or office or support office of Immigration Services is another great thing you can do in your class. Of course, that's depending on the time you're offering the class. I could not do this because our class is in the evening when the offices are closed. But if you have class during the day, this could be a great experience for your students. So they kind of know a little bit better of what that day is going to be like when they go in for their interview. And of course, with the current political climate and the policies that have been coming out over the past few months with the new administration, it's also really important to provide just open information sessions about naturalization information and current policy. We have been doing this at Emily Griffith since January, just setting up times where students can come in, voice their concerns, and ask questions about certain laws or executive orders or bills that are happening right now in Washington and how they will affect themselves or their how these policies might affect their families or their ability to gain citizenship. So this is another important thing you can do even outside of your classroom that your institution can do for your students who are curious about what is happening in Washington at this time. So now I want to kind of get into a little bit more of test prep, the interview skills, American culture, utilizing technology, and more of the curriculum and what you will actually want to do, some activities that you'll actually want to employ into your classroom. So when you're starting to build a course, once you have developed your goals and kind of gotten the logistics of when your course is going to be and how long it's going to run and who's going to teach it, the next step will be to develop the learning objectives for the course. And I have outlined here, kind of broken up some objectives into different categories. For the civics test, what you want your students to be able to do once they complete your course, explaining the benefits of citizenship, looking at American culture and describing aspects of culture. With the technology utilization, right, using Google Maps to identify specific locations or researching legal services in their area. These are all objectives that you can use to help build a successful class. Some activities that you can use during class. Of course, we did the brainstorm just a few minutes ago, and you can do that with a variety of topics. You could have them brainstorm what they know about being a citizen, what they know about American culture. You could have them brainstorm or list how many presidents do you know who are United States presidents. The list is endless when it comes to doing that type of activity. Another is working with maps. There is some in the 100 civics questions in the reading and writing portion, there are some questions over geography. So having them label parts of a map or use Google to find certain places will be great activities for you to use in class, as well as doing practice interviews. This is very, very important aspect of a civics class, of a citizenship class. And actually in my class, we devote 15 to 20 minutes of every class going over and practicing interviewing over the N400 form, because that is really where a lot of the vocabulary and things will come in that your students might not be incredibly familiar with. And of course, doing search and finds in textbooks, have them search for information and then write it down to answer questions, or looking at videos. And I just put a couple of examples of this. So this was a worksheet that I created for the students to do. They have this paragraph that they can read, and then it says answer, right, to this civics test question, name one of the 2 longest rivers. This is one of the 100 questions that they need to know for the civics test. And then I had them get those vocabulary sheets and create their own sentences about US geography. And you can do this and then have the students kind of exchange their worksheets so they can check each other's writing, and kind of, if they find any errors, explain them to one another. You could also then have the students read back the sentences they wrote for more reading practice and speaking practice. So this is just one activity that I've created. Another here, this is not something that I created, but I found online from Estrella Mountain Community College and from Minnesota Literacy Council. And this is kind of a mock interview form. And this is the form that I use in my class to go through and have them practice the interview part of reviewing the N400 form. This is what I use when we spend that 15 to 20 minutes doing that. And I just wanted to bring up, from the USCIS website, there are some great videos that talk about the naturalization and process, as well as the interview and test part of that process. So you could have students watch this video and answer certain questions about it, or try to pick out or listen for specific information in the video. Some other activities that I've employed into my classroom would be closed reading activities for civics information, grammar practice, having them do some kind of mini research project or build a PowerPoint to help with that technology utilization of historical events or the branches of government, doing some comparing, contrasting of individuals or figures, building timelines with your students, as well as just straight up reading and writing practice for those civics questions and personal information. Here is something that I pulled out of the textbook that we use, Voices of Freedom. And I've created kind of this information gap here and removed some of the single words, and then they listen to a tape or CD that goes through this paragraph, and they fill in the blanks there. Here is a mini research project that I have the students do. They kind of go to the computer and research, or use their textbook to research this, a particular event or historical event that they find interesting, and they fill in the blanks here, and then create a presentation about it and give it to the class. This is a compare-contrast activity that I've done, comparing and contrasting George Washington and Abraham Lincoln. A lot of the reading and writing vocabulary is a part of this, and there are questions about both of these presidents as part of the civics questions. So you have here, the students have this part, and then they kind of fill in the blanks as you read aloud the information to them, and then you can kind of review that or have the students check with each other. And reading and writing questions, this I typically do, let the students do as in kind of a partner activity, where one will read the questions and then the other student will have just like a blank piece of paper where they're writing down these answers to this question, and they're built all from the reading and writing vocabulary lists from the test. And there's just a number of questions that you could create to do an activity like this with the students. So I just want to talk about resources for a minute. Really, the best resource that is out there is the Immigration Services website. It has everything you could possibly need to learn about the naturalization process. You can see the fees, you can download all the forms. On this website, there's information for students as well as information for educators specifically. They have products, lesson plans, activities. They do training seminars and professional development. And there's lots of supplemental resource links available on the USCIS website. I can't recommend this website enough for helping you as you're developing this course. And some other resources here, elcivics.com is another really, really great website that you can go to get lesson plans and activities as you're building your class here. The Links website has some professional development resources that are also great. TEFL-tastic is another good one that you can go to kind of get some history activities and ideas for your class to help your students. All right, so this kind of wraps up my presentation here, and I've got quite a few questions. Oh goodness. Oh.
Laura, this is Sharon. If you would like to take just a minute maybe to read through, because there are a lot of questions, maybe we could have Robert Breitbart say a few words while you're looking those over.
Sure, that would be fantastic. Yes, I'm sorry, I just hit the wrong button, everybody. Excuse me. Here we go.
So
yes, that'd be great.
I just would like to take a minute here. First of all, thank you, Laura, so much for all this wonderful information. We really appreciate it, and I know you'll be back to answer a number of questions. But I would like to now turn this over to Robert Breitbart. Robert is with Burlington English, and Burlington English is the reason why we're able to offer this session free of charge, thanks to their sponsorship. So Robert, thank you so much, and would you like to say a few words?
Yes, I'm super thrilled to be with everyone today. I'm thoroughly enjoying this, and particularly because so many of the things that Laura's pointing out, we have embedded in our program, Burlington English, that so many of you are familiar with. And of course, Burlington English is not just something that is for computer labs, but also in the classroom and at a distance, and a combination of everything for blended learning. So it's for all of our learners, but particularly what I'm so interested as someone who's taught citizenship in the past myself is the parts of Burlington that students go through that are so engaging. So many of the things, again, that Laura's been pointing out, whether the getting to know the American history and historical facts, we do very, very well throughout the program. Students are very, very engaged. And not just, you know, the historical facts, but I think really the things that all of my students used to tell me about is getting ready for that, that naturalization interview. And that's what we really excel with. And so, for instance, answering questions for your personal background. And what's really, really neat is the opportunity for learners to do things such as, you know, demonstrate listening comprehension. So, for instance, here I can go in as that student going through the interview, and I can do listening comprehension now without the text scene. So I can really do those great simulations. We have all of this. There's one more opportunity here. I think that's really neat. I was just actually working with students not that long ago, explaining like why you want to be a citizen and the activities that are done here. Just again, I can't say enough, perfect for everything that we're seeing in the in today's session. And then lastly, for so many of you who are familiar with Burlington English, up at the top of the screen, we have our in-class lessons. And that's where we have matched projectable lessons, print-on-demand worksheets, and classroom activities so that teachers can run right down their class with very little prep, not running around to 10 or 20 different websites and getting information, but can have everything all in one place just at the touch of a button with Burlington English. So projectable lessons for an entire year's worth of content, whether it's the life skills, workplace readiness, and definitely with the preparing for the naturalization exam. So with that, looking forward to hearing more from Laura. And again, hope all of you go to www.burlingtonenglish.com and hope to see you at the COABE conference as well and talk with you soon. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Robert. So Laura.
Yes.
Have you had a chance to read through all the wonderful questions?
The majority of them, yes, I believe so. Here, screen here. Bring up these questions. So, a few of the questions I saw. First of all, let me tell everyone that this presentation is available online through Prezi.com, and that is PREVI.com, and you can search for me specifically, Laura Blom, and you can find this Prezi. It is public. You can go back and view it over and over and over again. It's not going anywhere because I had quite a few people ask if they would be able to see the presentation after the webinar, and yes, it is online and publicly available to everyone. A couple other questions that I had, and my screen is not working with me currently to go back and review them. The book that we use in our course is called Voices of Freedom. And you can find it online to order it if you wanted to get a copy of it, or to see if you think it might be a fit for your class. I also had a question about our entrance exam. We use an in-house made entrance exam for our ESL students that is written and oral, both. And it is one that we have created here at Emily Griffith, and it places the students into five different English levels, depending on how they do on that entrance exam. And for this exam, for this course, students have to be at least at a level 2 to enter this course. And I saw that someone asked, you know, what is your suggestion for learners with lower literacy? And I think I did not decide the level of this course, but I almost think that level 2 is still maybe a little too low for someone to successfully be able to complete this course, because of just the large amount of vocabulary that is needed to be able to go through this process successfully and gain citizenship. And so I would suggest for lower literacy learners and those whose speaking ability isn't theirs to maybe take some basic ESL classes first, improve those basic language skills, and then take a citizenship course. Our citizenship course is 2 hours a week, and it runs for 9 weeks. So it ends up being about 18 hours in the end that the students are with our instructor. Let's see here. Oh, someone asked about what kind of legal advice students would need. Why would they need an attorney? That's a great question. So a lot of students end up needing help filling out the N400 form. And even though you can practice that with them in class, it's really, when they're filling out the one that they're going to send in, it's really very important that they do that with an attorney and not with you as their instructor, because the attorney will be able to tell them exactly how they need to fill out the information, as well as people who are applying for citizenship don't just have to send in that form. They have to send in a variety of amount of paperwork. So if they're married, they would have to send in their marriage license. If they've been divorced, any criminal history records that they might have, those types of documents. And so meeting with the attorney is very important for them to learn what all documents other than that form they're going to need to provide to send in to successfully be able to complete the naturalization process. And I see here, someone said here, was that prezi.com? Yes, yes, you are absolutely right. That is it, prezi.com. And I can definitely send out the exact link to this Prezi for everyone as well whenever we finish. So I see here from Barbara that knowing how teachers are working with the advanced vocabulary in the good moral section. Yes, so this is why I spend every part of every single class, the last 15-20 minutes of class, really going through that form in detail, because the civics vocabulary, they can learn, they can memorize, but they have to really understand what those questions mean on that N400 form. And so that's why I take the time every class to kind of in chunks introduce that information class by class, so that we can go over kind of I believe on the form there is a question about if you've ever been affiliated with the Communist Party. So being able to pull up images and explain to students what that means, what that is. It is very important, and you really need to devote more class time than you might think initially to helping them learn that vocabulary. Let me see. I'm so sorry, this the question and answer thing on my screen is frozen, and so it won't let me go through them.
Laura, I just wanted to mention too that, of course, any questions we don't get to, we have all of these saved. So there's 22 questions out there, as well as in the chat box. There's probably between the two, there's got to be nearly 40 questions, and I don't know that Laura is going to be able to get to them all today, but I can certainly save those, and then we can follow up with an email. We will be emailing tomorrow at 3 anyhow. Everybody on this presentation will receive a certificate. They'll receive a copy of the Prezi. They'll receive a copy of this video as well. So we can also at that time send out responses to the questions if Laura's able to get to them at that point, or we could even send them at another date. But I just wanted to assure everybody that if we don't get to your question today, for sure we'll get to that and we'll respond back to you.
Yes, thank you so much, Sharon. Thanks for that. And I also, one other thing that I want that I'll include and send out to everyone is a PDF copy of all of those worksheets, those objective sheets and the worksheets that I included in my Prezi, so that if you're trying to get started building a class, you got a couple activities, some good starting objectives, good places to start to help you get going and develop your course. Right. Oh no. Okay. Is everybody still there? Can you hear me?
We're all still here, Laura, yes.
Great.
Or do you want to maybe just take one more question, respond to one more, and then we can maybe circle back after?
Sure, yes. Let me see if I can get back to my screen here. the host screen. Here we go. Okay. Oh, the website address, yes, to the presentation. Right. As Sharon said, she will send out that information tomorrow with the follow-up, but it is prezi.com. Let me see if I can type this back to everybody here. .com, and I believe I can also here, and there is the actual link to this specific presentation as well, right there for everybody. And it looks like we had a couple questions about Burlington English. What are the costs? So we may want to reach out to those individuals as well.
So Laura, yes, we will definitely be sure to reach out to those individuals.
All right.
So I just want to thank Laura for, thank you for doing such a great job, Laura, and thank you everybody who took the time to participate. I see we had about 215 on at the max here, so that's great. We had almost 400 register, and everybody that did register will receive a copy of this as well. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Robert Breitbard, for your sponsorship, and Laura for doing such a great job today.
And thank you, Sharon, and thanks to COABE for hosting this webinar and helping me get more of the word out about how to create a successful class.
It's our pleasure. Okay, everybody.
Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you at COABE. See you in Orlando.
Yeah, COABE.
Bye now.
Bye.